Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and will I say good night yet? Because it depends on where you are watching us from. Some people might be getting ready to go to bed now, but just stay on and you can go after this program. Thank you so much for joining us every time. It's your program, it's our platform. As usual, we have Alagbafemi or Dedeyi from Yorubaref Committee on the spot today. We always put him on the spot, and is always prepared to take on your questions. Alagbafemi Dedeyi, welcome to the program today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me and putting me on the spot. Thank you. All right.
Right. So the main topic still remains federalism, the journey so far. And we'll be taking on Alagbafemi Odedeyi on a very important aspect of the form of government in a particular nation or country, as the case may be, and its impact on continuity of development, whether that development is infrastructural, whether it's economical, or whether it's political. We've defined federalism on this program in the past. And of course, in Nigeria, for an example, we've had things to it. That's what we say when we say true federalism. Federalism is federalism, but there are circumstances around governance in Nigeria that make people to actually put that with it through federalism. And we can just pick that straight away, because when people say true federalism, it must have been that some people have claimed that, yes, we are running a federal structure, but then people are questioning that federalism. Alagbafemi Odedeyi, I know we've also mentioned it before. Federalism and true federalism, is there any difference?
Well, yes, in the sense that the fact that you call it true federalism means there is false federalism. So a federalism can be true, that is a relationship between the center and the subnational, the national and the subnational, or it may be false, where you have a center that decrease into existence the subnational, as we have in Nigeria. When the military took over, Nigeria came into being as a federal structure. It was a negotiated agreement between the components, let's put them that way, the East, the West, and the North. And they worked out an arrangement and created a center, even though with British superintendents on it. Then the military came in, abolished, cancelled the region and the war and all that, and caused itself a federal military government. And in the process, destroyed all we had agreed pre-independence that led to independence, and created its own federal structure. So you now have a center controlled by the military, which did not federalize itself. It was still a unitary system, unitary military government. It was not a federal army. It was a unitary army running a federal system, a supposedly federal system. So they began to create states. They started taking all the allocation, all the resources from the centers to themselves. They started taking the land away from the owners of the land under the so-called land use decree or land use act. So everything became centralized. And then they started dishing out allocations through their creation. So they now went into a census. We remember when, I think it was Obasanjo, the census had always been contentious, even before independence. Why? Because the whole idea of the census was to ensure that the northern region had a larger representation at the center. So when the military came in, they followed the same tradition and then created the states and local governments and all the rest of it, and then started allocating money based on the creation, on what they created, and they called it federal. Then they made even the Obasanjo Constitution in 1970-79. At least they had the Constitution Drafting Committee, they had the Constituent Assembly and all the rest of it. But then the military came in and then said, you have done well, but this is what we want. And they inserted their own stuff into that, and that is what they call the Constitution. And then subsequently, to make matters worse, we didn't even know who prepared the 1999 Constitution. And then they said it is we, the people. So if you look at it from that perspective, you will know that we are practicing a false federalism, which to counter now brings forth the question of true federalism. So that's why I said we can't just say it is federal and therefore it is. No, we have to look at the nature of that federal and see whether it is truly federal or it is not.
Okay, thank you very much, Alagbafemi or Dedeyi. And let's jump into the big one. We know that every government in Nigeria, at the start of their regime, they will promise change. They will promise development. And some will start very well. I mean, when we look at some infrastructure like in Lagos, I think it was even during the military regime of IBB that one of the bridges, I don't know which one, there was one of the bridges that was constructed then.
Is it the Baga Bridge or no, the Third Mainland Bridge?
I think it's the Third Mainland Bridge. It was constructed then. I mean, just to say that whenever they come in, they will always promise there's going to be changes, development, and some will kick off quite well. We just like the Third Mainland Bridge, we have some landmarks dating back to some of the regime. And we now want to tie this development to the sort of government that is being practiced.
Right.
I can't remember very well whether it was last year or the year before, the Patriots visited the current president of Nigeria, President Ahmed Tinubu. And they purposely went to discuss the reconstitution of Nigeria with him. And he promised them that, yes, his God is in his mind, but he wants to deal with the economic first. That is, sorting out the economy before coming back to deal with the constitution of the country, how the country will be constituted. And you've always mentioned that it's like putting the cart before the horse, because if we start with the reconstitution of Nigeria and we have a proper federating unit with their own powers, they could decide what they want to do and how they want to do it on their own, just like we have it in the 1960s.
Yeah.
But as we could see, if we look at the current government, there's loads of infrastructural development that is going on. We've got the roads, we've got the rail lines, we've got even some of the responsibilities of the federal government is now being ceded to the states and all that. And some people will argue that, okay, you see, the government is working, things are happening. We don't really need to have federalism, since it's what we're thinking that we will achieve by federalism when each region starts to pick what they want to do. The president is already doing it, and let's just keep moving on. Just to put this to you, is there an impact that will be different when we have the federalism, which is the true federalism in this instance, versus what we are having now, that we're seeing infrastructural development, we've seen the removal of fuel subsidy, we've seen the collapse of the dollar renting, and some other couple of things that are ongoing.
Yeah.
So what would you say to those that are of the opinion that, yes, what we're clamoring for, a whole lot of them is happening now. There's no need for us to go into federalism. We can just continue to move like this.
Yeah. It's not one. It's not even economic development. That is what is going on. We cannot, or rather, I will not characterize it as economic development. But let's leave that aside. Let's put it on the federal angle. It is not, as the president, he has all these enormous powers and all this and all that, and distributing money all over the place. So if tomorrow another person comes, okay, for example, Peter Obi, who is contesting against him, says if he becomes president, he's going to make, he's going to make the North the bread basket of Africa. Okay, so let's assume Peter Obi wins and he wants to be true to his word to make the North the bread basket of Africa. Now, we have seen how the North has benefited from this system since who knows when. And we saw what the military did to the North with all the river basin authorities, irrigation systems, all the stuff of it. We've seen how the North in quote now, has blackmailed the rest of us when there is any problem. Then they will say they are not going to bring any of their products to the South. We've seen how it has affected even our own agricultural development in the South, such that even our basic ingredients we hardly produce. And then someone says he wants to be president and make the same North the bread basket of Africa. So let's now compare. So now President Tinubu is there doing this and doing that, and they are saying it is good. So if Obi comes in and he wants to be true to his word, the first thing he will do is to reverse everything that President Tinubu is doing. Why? Because he has the power of the president to do it, to make up his promise. So instead of constructing pan-Nigerian highways and all that President Tinubu is doing, he will now divert such monies into making the North the breadbasket of Africa. So I just use that. I'm not saying Obi will be president. I don't even want him to be president. But I'm just saying that, let's just even look at what they are saying and what they will do, which means that the office of the presidency cannot dictate the nature of the federal system. That is number one, because presidents go, presidents come, and they can't do anything unless the structure is created in such a manner that they cannot just wave it aside. That is number one. Number two, federalism is not an administrative bureaucracy where you will sit down as the president and say, you want to develop the country. I will do this, I will do that, I will do that, I will do all those things, and start creating infrastructure. No, federalism is saying that we as the peoples of Nigeria, let me use the Yoruba, for example, Yoruba people, we want to develop ourselves according to our language. Very important. We want to develop our language. We want to develop our economy as our cultural values and all the rest of it. We want to see how we can make our monarchies more responsible to their communities. So leaving it at that, that means we, the Yoruba people, should dictate how we develop ourselves. So there's nowhere in the world where there is development without the development of the language. So yes, we use English for everybody. India uses English, but the topmost educational institution in India balances it with the development of their Hindu language.
Right.
Right. So we can, so we Yoruba people now, and that goes for other people, but I'm using Yoruba as an example, cannot be said to be developed if we don't develop our language that will now affect such development. So we have 10-lane road from Lagos to wherever, and we call it development, but we lose our language. That is not developed, because when you lose your language, you lose your reasoning. It's not for nothing that the Action Group government and the Egbe Omodudu and Awolowo group poured a lot of attention to language development through their educational processes. Some of us who are in school, in elementary school at that time, when we had a magazine called Awureni, I mean, it's no longer, which was a Yoruba comic strip magazine that was distributed to us in primary school to read and enjoy and laugh. Awureni means you look and laugh. And not to mention the literature books, that is the literature in Yoruba language books. Fagunwa ni o.
Yeah,
all the rest of
all
it. So,
the
yes,
yeah.
it brings you it brings out the humanity in you as a Yoruba, that yeah, this is who I am, this is what I am. So if you now ignore all that and you say, hey, well, since we are constructing roads, it's okay. I mean, anybody can construct roads if we come down to it. I mean, okay, Obasanjo constructed the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in those days when he was military governor. But where is the road today? In fact, by virtue of the construction itself, if the people, the Yoruba people were involved in its design and construction, it will not be constructed like that. It was simply a military road that connected Lagos and Ibadan on an expressway without only one exit along almost 100 and something miles. You can't turn, you can't do anything, you just go straight. The military constructed the Muritala Mohammed Airport. Only one road leads to the airport. How can you have an airport of such magnitude with only one road leading in and out? And you call that development? So anybody can build anything, roads and this and that. They have been doing it. Even the third mainland bridge that Babangida built, when it was going to the end around the Owuroshoki, was not supposed to pass through that place. It was supposed to go straight to the then expressway. But then a whole lot of military generals had properties around that, so they had to divert it because of them. That was why it came out, I think, around, is it now Owuroshoki or somewhere around that side? That was how the place was destroyed. So, but if it was planned by Yoruba people, I don't think it will be that bad. Then, even town planning itself, the whole concept of town planning, urban planning, we say Lagos is bustling with people and all the rest of it. If the Yoruba people are developing their regions, nothing stops us from having a high-speed rail link from, what's the farthest point in Ondo State, Okitipupa, to Lagos. You can be living somewhere in Okitipupa and be working in Lagos and go back. Patapata 1 or 2 hour train journey. This was what the Western Southwest Development Commission was planning, was talking about when they said they were going to do it. But what happened? The Nigerian government said, no, you can't construct your own railway. You have to use our own railways. So the people in the regions have a sense of who they are and what they want to be and what they want to achieve and how they compare themselves to the rest of the world. So when we say Western region, we had the first television station in Africa at that time. It was not to boast, it was to show that we in the Western region, we are already in that space that the world is occupying, that the world is building at that time, that this is where we want to be, that is where we want to go. So when we talk of federalism, we are not just talking about bureaucracy doing this and doing that. We are talking about the liberation of the people themselves. That is, we want to come into being as who we are. And it's not disturbing anybody. If we say Yoruba language should be the language of instruction in all our educational institutions, and it has been proven, Professor Fafunwa proved it, that the language mother tongue education is superior to any other form of education, and it has been proven in other parts of the world. So if we say, yes, we want to use Yoruba language from primary 1 to PhD level,
Yeah.
any non-Yoruba who wants to study in Yoruba land, we have to study study Yoruba language to get there. After all, if you go to Finland, you are not going to tell them you are going to use English. Or if you go to Germany, or if you go to France, you have to know their language to be able to progress in their educational institutions. Or if you go to China. So that is what we are saying about that is what we are talking about when we say true federalism. That is, we are talking of is a form of decolonization, if we are going to use that term, that we want to decolonize ourselves. That is why we are asking for real federalism. We are not a file sitting in a bureaucrat's office who will decide what is good for us. I mean, that's the basic bottom line. So when this president now said that he will do this and do, you see, it was like we said, putting the cart before the horse. Abishe, that's the correct expression. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is, you address the politics first before you address the economy. You can't address the economy without addressing the politics. Otherwise, like we said, another person will come and say, yeah, let me improve on what you have done. Okay, I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to, like I used to be, for example. Okay, he has built, Tinubu has built all the bridges he wants to build. So we are not building any more bridges. We are going to start developing agriculture in the north. Shebi, when Buhari was there, he built a railroad to Niger Republic.
Oh, Nigeria, yes.
And so anybody can build anything, but don't let us mistake it for development. It is not. I may be harsh, but of course, I want him to win his second term, but we have to tell ourselves, Ududu Oro.
Yes. Thank you very much, Alagbefemi Odedigi. I also want to we slightly bring in the was it called the blue line? That was during Alhaji Lateef Jakande's governorship of Lagos.
Metro line. Yes, that was cancelled by a stroke of the pen. And then Lagos State had to pay, or is it Nigeria? They had to pay a fine for canceling
the project.
Yes. So that's what we are saying. There was a governor who said, okay, Lagos has this population, blah, 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 blah. We need mass transit. And then he went for it to create mass transit. And then somebody just came and said, no, you don't need mass transit. You know, that's the kind of thing we are talking about.
And the implication of it is that, or was that, or is that, yes, we can use the is that.
Yeah, we can use it because it is current.
I did think that it was a regional government. Buhari then, as the head of state, would not have been able to interfere with what is being done at the regional level.
You know, it's like even the University of Ife, when it was conceived by the Action Group, they did everything they needed to do: the land, the architecture, the concepts, the cultural significance, and all the rest of it. And they created it as a center of excellence in the West. When Obasanjo got there, what did he do? he canceled it. He said, no, we are going to take it over. How can you take the culture of a people over by bureaucratic means? Which was what he did. And see how the whole thing evolved. Even when he was going to take it over, the military governor at that time, Akin Aduwo, objected. And this guy went to all the obas and said, look, this is your cultural heritage. They want to take it over. And everybody said, no. The guy was removed. That's Aduwo. Or he was removed as governor within 6 months. So you can't make your development subject to some bureaucracy outside your environment.
Right.
And that is what is happening. So when we say true federalism, we are saying Nigeria is not operating the federal system. It's only calling itself federal.
The federal state.
Yeah, but it is not.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much, Alagbafemi Odedeye. I think one of the questions has been answered with your explanation now, because we have an opinion that, the state governors, especially in the Southwest, that if there's anything that has to be done cultural appreciation, whether is through the language or creation of festivals to educate and orientate the people towards culture. That, the way things are now, that, the governors could do it without needing without any need for the country to, first of all, be reconstituted. But then the Buhari example is a good example that, although the Lagos State has already planned that and even paid towards it, and then a government came because the central has the overall authority, and then they just get it cancelled. I think in the past also, we may have states that wanted to have some couple of equipments, but if the federal, the person at the center, if they refuse to sign it, then
that is
stopped.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right. So I think we've got that right, that we need the reconstitution. And very importantly, what is the key here is the people.
Right.
And we've all agreed that we are not the same in terms of culture, in terms of language, in terms of tradition as well. So, and we see how it showed out during the regional governments. Right. The Western Nigeria was doing his own thing in his own way. The Eastern was doing his, and then the Northern part were doing theirs. And there was sort of what we can call healthy competition.
Sorry, just to give you additional information on that. You know what we now know as Odua Investments today started as a Western Nigeria Development Corporation in the Western region at that time. So when the military was going to dabaru everything, they quickly created Odua Holdings. Now, in that, every region had its own development corporation at that time. But how many of them are still standing today? It's only the West, Odua Holdings. Why? It's not because we are superhumans. It's because those who, even Babangida wanted to cancel it at one point. Then they said MK Abiola went to him and pleaded with him and all that. So it survives because of the cultural essence of Yoruba people, that we need something like that.
Right.
The Eastern Nigeria Development Corporation is nowhere to be found. The Northern Nigeria Development Corporation is nowhere to be found. It's only the Western Nigeria, because it was developed as a not just as an economic institution, but as a cultural and political institution made to uplift Yoruba people. And that's the crucial difference between all the others who are simply economic institutions. Yeah, we are going to do this, we are going to do that, we are going to do all that. But ours is different. because it embedded the culture in that economy. And that's why someone can say when Babangida wanted to dabaru the whole thing, people raised up, look, we can't allow this to happen. No. Then they went to his friend, MKO, yeah, go and talk to your friend, you can't do this. And they said the man agreed, and that's otherwise they could have just by a stroke of the pen. So that I just said I should put that in. Sorry to cut you off. Yes.
Thank you very much, Alagbafemi Odedeyi. And one other question coming out is, they said, I mean, if the Nigeria is reconstituted into regions based on ethnic nationality, well, it's easy to actually divide what is taken as the credits. That is where the resources and stuff like that. And so the question is, what happens to the debt? How is it going to be resolved? Is it going to be divided per states or per region, or how?
Well, that can easily be worked out because, the debts were not accrued to only one person. So maybe, I mean, when it comes to that, it will be a question of, okay, out of this debt, how much went to where? Who got what? Who got? So let's repay it according to what we get.
Right.
And that would be a fair assessment. So if 100 million is the debt and someone got 70 million and someone got 10 million, definitely we pay for the 10 million we got, you pay for the 70 million you got. I think that would be a fair assessment, when it comes to that.
Okay, that's good. I think that's quite straightforward. And I'm sure that the person who asked that question is quite clear. I know that our time is running out.
Yeah, so sorry, just in addition to that, because why that is the case is because, they have an allocation system.
Yes.
In Nigeria, and they prioritize. So it's very easy to find out. Yeah, just said, let me put that because of the questioner. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alagbafemi Odedeyi. I think what we'll be rounding up with, because of our time, is in terms of, we can say that agitations have gone down, probably maybe because of the election years is coming and go. So do you see agitation for whether it's the constitution of the country or so nation, do you see it climbing back up after the elections?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's what happens. That, when elections come, everybody seems to forget about this and that. They will concentrate. And when immediately the election is over, it will be back to square zero, as I always put it, not square one. And the fault lies with the agitators. And we keep saying it every time on our program that, see, we have to make this demand or agitation a political issue. We make it a political issue so that whoever wants to vote, wants our vote, we have to commit him or herself openly and publicly to it. So that when he gets into office, we can say, oh yeah, you have committed yourself, do what you need to do. But we don't do that. We just, we are like outsiders looking in. I'm talking about agitators now.
Yeah.
Outsiders looking in. We stand outside, we let them do whatever it is they want to do, and we start throwing stones at them. When the main thing we need to put before them, we keep in our pockets until the next time. And then somebody will now come up from the ranks of the agitators to get an appointment, and then we start accusing that one of selling out. So I put the whole thing, or if there's going to be any blame, I put it on the agitators, because we are yet to put our demands as a political demand on that electoral platform. And we don't need to establish any political party for that, because our demand is already a party by itself. It's just that we have not made it to appear on the political battleground. And that is what we should be doing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Alagbafemi Odedeji. This brings us to the end of today's program. Please, if you need to reach out to Yoruba Referendum Committee, please send your message to yorubaref@gmail.com. You could check Yoruba Referendum on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Thank you very much, and we'll catch up next week, same time, same day.